Hi, and welcome to this episode of my brand new Dubai Builder podcast, which I'm recording here live from Burj Khalifa. The podcast is aiming to share with you some really inspiring stories of people who have built either businesses or careers or even communities here in the city, and is actually showing you how it's really being done. Today's episode, I'm really excited, is with my very dear friend Gabriela, who I met about a year ago at a networking event. And networking is such an important part in a city like Dubai. In this episode, we especially highlight that this is not just about collecting business cards and shaking a lot of hands, but it's really about also following up and building real trust with the people who you either want to do business with in the future or who might also convert into real friends. So I'm super excited to have you here today. And we would love to hear from you how, everything started from the business idea. How did you build your network, and how you're basically building stuff. And the idea is also to share some, very practical tips for someone who is either just coming to Dubai or is maybe also thinking about starting their business. So we want to learn from someone who just went through this very first important phase. And but before we start with the questions, maybe you just want to introduce yourself and your business so that people get to know you.
Perfect. First of all, thank you very much, Francie. I was really excited when you invited me. And as you said, I recently started my business here. It is a coaching business. It is for leaders who are in a corporate world and they have been successful. They have done all the right things, but somehow they feel something is missing, like they feel stuck. And this can be not necessarily because they want to keep growing, maybe they do, but that's not the case with all of my clients. Sometimes it's a matter of there's a disconnection between what they are doing and what they know they can do, their vision, their values, their passion, and what they are actually doing. And in this disconnection, we find out that sometimes it has to do with the motivation, sometimes it has to do with the passion, but sometimes it has to do with some of the skills on how they are showing up to ask for what they want, or to show the value they can bring apart from the value that they have been bringing all along. So that's what we are working with.
Amazing. So as I hear it's not so much about people who are working in the corporate world and want to change their job. That might be a direction they want to go, but it's also about helping leaders in an organization to maybe grow further, right? So as I understand, it's like there are different parts depending on the individual conversation you're having with them.
Exactly. Sometimes they come to me for a specific reason and they realize they want to do something different. So that's an outcome. But it is also for people that enjoy their jobs. Nowadays, there's a lot of conversation that you should be free, do your own thing, and it makes perfect sense for some people. Others are perfectly happy working in a corporate world and having that safety net from the corporate, and they just need to feel they are enjoying it. You shouldn't hate your job. You shouldn't be leaving just for the weekends, or you shouldn't be leaving just for the holidays and do your job to pay the bills. There are ways that you can enjoy what you're already doing and find that new challenge with what you're already doing. Maybe you change, maybe it's for you to build something on your own, but it's okay if it's not. So that's where I focus right now.
Great. That sounds really exciting. So I wonder, how did you get your first clients? And maybe is it connected to what you have done before, starting your own business? Maybe you can also talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So before doing this, I was working in consulting. It was more of assessment, implementation, discovery, improving processes, and all that. However, we had a big client that asked us to come and coach their teams. We did one-on-one coaching, we did workshops and group coaching, and that's where I realized this is something I really liked. In my mind, I already knew, but I thought that I would just do this once that I retired. And then I started shifting my whole thought about it. Then we moved to Dubai. And when I moved to Dubai, I thought maybe this is when. And at the beginning, I started trying to find companies that would hire me to do that. But soon enough, I realized that's not actually how coaching works in here. And while I was still in this discovery process, one of my, let's say, colleagues back in London asked me to coach her. And by this coaching and working, we worked only for 3 days for an application she wanted to do for a leadership position. And the outcome was that she was promoted to partner.
Amazing.
So that feeling is what got me thinking, time is now, I should start already running this. So the first clients were the network that I already had, which means that they were in Mexico, which with the time difference was a challenge.
Yeah.
It still is. So I started slowly building relationships here so that my clients could be UAE based.
So that's definitely a great start, especially if you can carry over some of your network into your new business.
Yeah.
So I do wonder, so usually it's about government programs. I could imagine like being in the business for like a service provider coaching, that this might not be relevant. I'm not sure if you have explored anything, or are there maybe other communities which you have found very helpful here in Dubai to, further expand your network or maybe even find new clients?
Yeah. In terms of government programs, I haven't really looked into it, so I would be lying if I tell you. But maybe there's something. I don't think I'm in that stage yet, because I'm in the stage of validating the current offer that I have. But definitely it's worth looking at it. In terms of communities and networking events, what I always say is people focus a lot on meeting new people. What I came to know, and that I'm now trying to share with people, is that it's not about who you know, but about who trusts you. So the whole point is building your trust net instead of networking, right? So the first step of the trust net is not where you should be or who do you need to know, but who do you need to be as a person. So this whole concept of trust net is formed of 3 key components. One is value, which is the value that you bring, the perspective that you bring to the table. The second one is connection. So this authenticity, how you show up, and the consistency when you're showing up. And the third one is the trust, which is the key component. So trust in your intention, in you as a person, in what you bring to the table, and also in, do you follow through when you say you're going to do something? So when you start asking, am I the person that is always bringing something new, that is giving a different perspective that people can rely on, then you can start thinking on meeting people, because you can be in the perfect room, like you can be with the perfect people, but if you're not showing up as your best version, let's say, that won't really lead you, or maybe it will lead you somewhere, but not as far as you can. So once that you start working on that, and that you are already this person, you can start forming your own trust net. And once that you start forming your own trust net, and you know what you bring, you start going to events. So for me, it depends on which phase you are. But for me, being out there, and Dubai is great for that, you have many, many events, is very important at the beginning. You never know who you're going to meet in an event that maybe had nothing to do with what you're doing. As you grow, you need to be a bit more selective, because you don't have time for everything. But it's important to join many communities, whatever you like. You don't need to force yourself to do something you don't like. There will be, for sure, at least here in Dubai, something that suits you.
I agree. That's also how we met.
That's
right?
also how we met.
So, yeah, as you're also saying, like there's so many different even communities and styles, like, I mean, sporting, or like also we are like in a common book club together, or also typical networking events, business networking events. And yeah, I like what you say, that it's not so much about like how many times you hand over your business card, but it's more about how you're actually connecting with the person, which might feel like it takes longer, but it's actually not, because you're building a real relationship. And that is something, of course, in business, something very, very important.
Exactly. Because let's say you already build this trust net before you need anything, and you do it in an organic way, not in a perform kind of way. That's the difference with networking, which I think that was the original idea of networking, but somehow in the way we forgot it.
It ended up in being pitched at each other. Like I'm talking at you, pitching my product, you pitch back. There's also nothing wrong, right? There is definitely also scenarios where this makes sense, and it's also a great opportunity to practice your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, in order to build that long-lasting network, and especially also with coaching, I think it's important that you click on a human level, not just on the transactional point.
100%, because that's the way that you can better help clients when you are connected. And you're not for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And not everyone will be also for you, and that's perfectly okay.
That is true. We have also one question from the community. And the question is starting a business, will it give you complete freedom, or is it just another 9-to-5 job?
And that is a very good question. I think when you start your own business, it's not even 9-to-5, it can go longer.
24 hours a day.
Yeah, especially because you love it and you're so invested.
Yes.
No one is telling you to do it, but you want to do it.
Yes.
It depends on the scenario. Some people have to do it. They don't have that option. We need to be mindful of the different realities.
Yeah.
I would say that it depends a lot on what do you define as freedom.
Yes.
Because if you're talking about freedom of time, in the sense of free time without doing nothing but just watching TV, probably not.
Yeah. Or being at the beach club and
exactly,
enjoying cocktails.
Exactly. However, you can plan to make that happen. If
Yes.
you want to go to the beach club on a Tuesday, you can plan your life around it so that maybe you push harder certain days so that you do that. So it gives you freedom to work on what you care about, on what you feel passionate about, and it does bring a certain type of freedom on your life, like taking
Yes.
the ownership of your life. But it definitely is hard work, especially
Yes.
if you're on your own.
True. And it also requires, as you said, like self-leadership, like planning ahead. Like, I mean, if you come maybe from a traditional 9-to-5 where you have Monday to Friday office hours, then it's kind of predictable, right? That the weekends are free. But in your case, if you're running your own business, depending
Yeah.
on what it is, maybe that means you're working on the weekends, but maybe then you have other days off. Yeah.
It also depends on the type of business. For example,
Yeah.
for me, the weekends are non-negotiable. That's how I want to start building. And my clients know that. I won't reply, but I'll reply on Monday,
Yes.
like first thing, right? And is this respect for the time that you give to the people? But that's up to you. That's the freedom.
Yes.
There's people who
You have your
might
own
say,
rules, yeah.
exactly, you made your own rules, and the people who like them will come along.
Yes, that is so true. So what is it something you're trying to unlock currently? Any kind of challenge ahead of you where, the community, anyone can help you with? Anything you're exploring right now?
Well, right now what I'm exploring is to build a community for the TrustNet, a small community, which would be based not on cold connections, but on knowing what you can bring to the table before thinking of what you need out of the community, and start building relationships that become more meaningful. You might just get a good, conversation out of it.
Yeah.
But that's my next challenge, I think.
Okay. Next challenge, opportunity.
Opportunity.
Yeah, that's really great. So basically what you emphasized earlier on starting those deeper connections and being very, like the community is basically making this official that, hey, this is how we're operating, this is the values we are playing by. Before we take, we give.
Exactly. And you show, the idea is to show the way I see that you can start to build connections. Because here in Dubai, you have great opportunities. Like there's always something going on. But it's so easy to fall into the autopilot of just going there, handing cards, and I want to remind, and there probably are already people who are doing this.
Yes,
But there's room for everyone, right?
absolutely.
So it's a different way of looking at approaching and building connections.
That's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to this. What is the best way for people to connect with you and learn more about what's coming up? So, for example, about the TrustNet or how they can learn more about your services.
They can go to my Instagram and also in my LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Gabriela,
Thank
for
you.
sharing your insights in your journey. Also, really, really inspiring. And I cannot wait to see and hear more about this.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Yay! So I'm very excited on how you like this episode. And if you have any feedback, please leave this also below, because I'm still testing out different formats, different questions. So any kind of feedback, anything you would love to dive in a little more deeper, leave that in the comments below, and then I try to incorporate this into the future session.